That Tom Clancy show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of That Tom Clancy Show. Thank you, Elias. You are the absolute best. So, real quick, wait a second. That's not showing. There's supposed to be video here. That's not here. 1 second. Um, why is that not working? Haha. There we go. Now it's working. I like when things work. So, sorry about that, guys. But yeah, sorry that there was no show yesterday. Some crazy things happened. Primarily that I broke the show. Oh yeah, and I have to make Elias happen again. So enjoy the vocal work of the wonderful Elias Tufexis.
This is Elias Tufexis. You're watching That Tom Clancy show.
Never gets old. Uh, so yesterday, accidentally broke the show. And not like a little bit broke the show, like a lot bit broke the show. So as you'll see, hand gestures are gone. All I can do is make fists again. But check out this coffee sorcery. I summon you, O great coffee, from the void. Boom. Cup of coffee. Oh, that's good. Oh, it's so good having coffee again. So, everybody, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of That Tom Clancy Show. Now, all of like my crazy fun stuff all out of the way. My guest today is the developer behind a game called Castle Cthulhu, a game about a dangerous reality trying to destroy your sanity. Kind of like 2020. Bits and Pixels. Help me in introducing Rosalind Chapman. And I swear I'm usually better at English than I am today. But welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's me, Rosalind Chapman.
That it is you. Good job. And also, hi, Timmy in chat.
So here's the cat.
Hello,
The
kitty.
cat cam.
What is the cat's name?
This is Igora Myochenka.
Oh my God, that's an intense name.
She will have to move at some point if I'm ever going to play the game.
That's
She
fair.
loves sleeping on the keyboard.
Yeah.
It's her favorite place.
Patrick, who usually is in the office with me, he loves all of the things that I need to use when I need to use them. So I fully understand. But before we get any further, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for hosting.
Absolutely. It's I don't know if you noticed this, but it's kind of my job. I mean, it doesn't really like pay like a job, but you know, it's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, that's a uncomfortably large portion of my jobs too.
Yeah, but you know, the coffee's fine, so feel free to have that cup that's sitting there on the table in front of you. But you know, I mean, hey, maybe you're a tea person. I didn't really have my people check out beforehand, guys. Why didn't you check that out beforehand? So, but yeah, so welcome to the show, Castle Cthulhu. Tell us a bit about it.
Okay, yeah, Castle Cthulhu is a roguelike, a action roguelike with a sort of very light horror elements to it. It's not really a horror game. It's an action game first and foremost, but there's spooky things in it. But the crux of it is that you're going to try to thwart an evil ritual at the bottom of a castle that very much wants you dead. The castle wants you dead. The ritual also wants you dead. And so you're going to be contending with the mortal physical perils of cultists and shotguns and knives and things, but also the longer you dwell in this place, the more hostile it becomes through various less tangible methods. Yeah, it's I guess like some reference points in indie games. It's got like a bit of, it's like a slightly chunkier is the wrong word. It's like a more deliberate blinking on Nuclear Throne. It's like a more deliberate Nuclear Throne, less fast paced, but more planny.
I can get down with that. Actually, one of the first guests on the show, speaking of Nuclear Throne, was Rami Ishmael.
Yeah, actually, I watched that episode.
Yeah, that episode quickly devolved into two friends who haven't seen each other in 5 years telling lots of stupid in-jokes.
Yeah, I can confirm. I saw it.
Rami, if you're watching, I still haven't quite forgiven you for ruining that cup of clam chowder. Even though, in fairness, it was like the second or third cup of clam chowder I had that day.
Rami, if you're watching, I really like Nuclear Throne.
Yeah, Rami, if you're watching, check out Rosalind's game. Maybe give it a signal boost. But
I would love that.
Oh, dude, yeah, it's like, yeah, love that guy. I if he's watching, I hope he's not offended or too flattered by this. But in non-video game company, I tend to refer to him as Indie Jesus.
He does have that aura about him.
Doesn't he? I mean, he's like he is, one of the big evangelists for indie developers, and he's out there just like sharing all of his wisdom.
Yeah. I've never
and,
met him personally, but he seems really nice.
Having hung out with him personally several times, yes, he is. He is a damn fine human, and dare I say, one of the best. In fact, I so dare. He's one of the best. Well, we could sit here and we could talk Rami all day long, but unfortunately, that's not what I invited you on the show to talk about. I invited you to talk about Castle Cthulhu. So why a roguelike?
So I've always really loved roguelikes. They're one of my favorite genres because I've always been an extremely like mechanics and systems, oriented person. Like left alone as a kid with lots of pieces of paper, my first instinct is to just make board games. Like that's how I occupied my time as a child. So like I've always loved systems, and what I love about roguelikes is there's two sides to it. Is the random generation means that as the designer, I get to play the game kind of the same way the players do.
Yeah.
Like it's my experience playing the game is far more analogous to the players than in any game with a scripted levels and things, because I don't know the shortcuts. I don't know what's around the corner. I'm slightly better off because I know the underlying logic behind it. I've programmed that. I know the percentage chance that the thing is going to be around the corner. But the moment to moment, playing of it, when you're a small team, or one person, as a lot of my projects have been, like it's just really lovely being able to just genuinely enjoy your games kind of the same way as any other player. And the other thing I really love them from like a systems perspective is because you have that death that just puts a stop to things. And like some modern roguelikes have, a little bit of stuff that carries over, but for the most part, puts a stop to things and resets everything and regenerates the maze. You get to this point where the only way to get better is to get better at the game. You can't get better at the levels.
Yeah.
And I love that. Like I've always had like a weird beef with, it's neat and it's kind of fascinating to me when there's like a, speedrunning community that develops around like, oh, hey, there's this neat trick in this one room, or like you go to a guide because a boss is really strong and they tell you, oh, here's the exact thing you do to beat them. And that stuff's all really neat to me, but it's kind of antithetical to like what I like about games, which is just like, hey, here's this system, go understand it and get better at it. It just feels like you're just sort of acing each scenario rather than understanding the underlying logic of the game.
That is a very interesting just series of points there that I kind of want to kind of break down like one at a time, if you don't mind.
Okay.
The first one for sure, the not being able to memorize the levels, and so it allows you to play the game as a player, even as a designer, is just very interesting. And Victor in chat, hi Victor, says I never thought of it like that. Oh hey Chroma, dab. I got to do that.
Are we dabbing now?
Oh no, you don't have to unless there's.
Oh, okay, good.
Unless they redeem 500 points, then it's you.
Okay.
For me, my embarrassment is cheap. So
we're gonna have to find some way to scrub that from the records.
Oh snap! Victor did just redeem the 500 points. So I guess you're up.
I guess I gotta.
Oh god, this is
that
gonna.
How it works?
Yeah, that's great. This is gonna be one of those
never played
episodes, isn't it, guys?
Is it a Fortnite thing? Does
No,
it pre-exist Fortnite?
It pre-exists Fortnite.
Okay.
But yeah, Victor says pro dab.
Okay.
But that's one of the things that, as a former tester, it's very hard to play a game that you've played dozens of times like a new player. But having something with procedural generation where those levels are different every time, yeah, you're right. It's oh man, I'm gonna be doing lots of dabs. Sorry, but that's such a it's so obvious that I've overlooked it, and it's just mind blowing to me. Like one of those just yeah.
Oh, let me see if I can. Oh, that's a little bit better, I think. There we go. Yeah, like I don't know. I think it's a thing that very much comes for me out of like a little bit of like loneliness of like I made games as a kid primarily for myself. They were things that I wanted to enjoy. And I liked sharing them, but like, your friends aren't over every day. Like, so I always liked making games that could surprise me, and that sort of means that the things I'm interested in are like, procedurally generated levels and like emergent narrative. There's not much of that in Castle Cthulhu, but it's something I'll probably touch on in the future. And there's games that I love and like absolutely adore, and I like on some level want to make like some 50-hour RPG epic one day. Indie budget allowing. But the thought of testing those things is nightmarish to me. Like, oh god.
Yeah. It should be, because testing is scary. Yeah, I mean, even small games, it's just because there's so many different scenarios you have to check out, and like then you get into things like performance testing, and if you're deploying to a platform other than Windows, you have all of the standards testing, and man, that gets so strangely and oddly specific. So should be like Bethesda and not test at all. I mean, look, I'm not going to speak bad about any test department anywhere.
You can be diplomatic and just say that they need more money.
Yeah, Bethesda's test team definitely needs to grow in probably an order of magnitude if people have a realistic expectation of Bethesda games not being buggy.
Yeah, I assure you, everyone who's probably working there is working very hard.
Yeah, I can guarantee you no one at Bethesda wants to make a buggy game. It's just when you're making a game on the scale of a Bethesda game, bugs happen. Except, Grand Theft Auto is pretty okay with that. But then again, Grand Theft Auto has a legit army of testers.
Yeah, no, they paid for that in budget.
Yeah. They paid for that with microtransactions, but
Yeah.
fun times. And then the other
Don't you
thing,
just love the games industry?
generally speaking, yes, but every now and then, no. I did find out, the lawyer at EA who was basically got ripped apart by the EU for the loot box scandal that's going on with them. I found out that one of my neighbors is a friend of hers. And that made for a slightly awkward conversation the other day when I discovered that after severely mocking that person. Just goes to show you never know who you're talking to, folks.
Yeah.
Oh, man. The other point you brought up was in speedrunning. And, of course, Summer Games Done Quick is going on right now in a smaller capacity than normal, but I'm still super happy it's happening. And I don't know if you've ever had the chance to watch some of the people who run games like, say, Spelunky or Nuclear Throne, but those are some of the much more interesting speedruns, specifically for the reasons that you stated, because it requires them to like really learn the underlying rules of the game. They're like the physicists of the gamer community, because like they have PhDs in figuring out programming without any access to source code.
Yeah. I must admit to not seeing that many roguelike speedruns, but the speedruns I have seen that just fascinate me are like Link to the Past randomizer speedruns.
Oh, the randomizer stuff is so fun.
I love those because they give them the same seed, so there's no actual luck involved. They're getting the same challenge, but they both both of them are going head to head, and they just have to have this like complete adaptability, on the fly create a route through the game. Like, I think it's really cool that there are these communities that commit to creating these elaborate routes through games and working together to do something. And I think that's really awesome, but it's also just wild to see someone just like improvise it on the spot.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Well, and then they have like the next step up from the randomizer is they have those ones where they'll take like Link to the Past and do not like a mashup is the wrong word, but they do like those linked runs between it and Super Metroid, and you'll go through like one door and it will take you over to the other game, and then of course the games themselves are then randomized. Like the people who come up with those
randomizer.
Yeah, a randomizer. Like the people who come up with that like are just, I don't know who they are, but they're crazy.
That's gorgeous. That's just WarioWare on a completely new scale.
I mean, if we're not going to get a new WarioWare, then that's how we have to get it. So
I need to watch out for the fact that my cat has opened seemingly like 80 Firefox private browsing pages.
What are you up to, cat? What's your game?
She really doesn't want me to know.
I mean, it's a cat. Of course, it doesn't want you to know.
Yeah,
it's just like how it goes. All right, this coffee's gone bad.
Secrecy very seriously.
Shit, no, I just don't have coffee.
Oh,
all right, I'm good.
She has moved from her keyboard bed.
Nice. Well done, cat. Now stay away. Though know that I love you. So are you? Yes, I did in fact throw the coffee. And you know what? I'm going to throw this coffee too. Just because I can. I'm drunk with power.
I'm just going to delete all these before they start causing performance problems.
You know, I probably should be doing that with all of these coffee cups I'm just throwing around willy-nilly, but no, I'm not going to do it. I just like throwing them around. Must be looking for another word for cat. You know, occasionally, yeah. Well, there's so many words for cat, you know, but then like cat is like the one that just works. And I don't know this cat in particular, so I'm not going to be like, oh, little kitty, you know. I mean, I don't even really say that to my cats, mostly because 3 of them are jerks. Lovable jerks, but jerks.
We call our little kitty paws a lot.
We just call them by their names generally, or like baby. So, so are you working on this alone, or do you have like anyone else with you? Like, not that there's a wrong answer to this, but
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I feel like I cut you off.
no, that's fine. So what is the size of the team that you're working on? Geez, I take one day off from the show and I'm like completely terrible at it.
So yeah, I mostly work on it alone. I do have plans at some point to get one of my friends to help me with, and ideally for money. I'm looking into ways to get funding, but get one of my friends to help me with music, because that is something I brain can't even approach that.
Music is
Other
hard.
than that, yeah. My friend Graham Gillespie, shout out to my friend, he absolutely adores the first, like, this game is a remake of a game that I've retroactively called Castle Cthulhu Classic, which is not exactly sellable for reasons involving lots of very amateur coding, and it's just, it's got a lot of neat ideas, but it's pretty barren in terms of like game feel, and sort of it's difficult to engage with.
Yeah.
And its problems are deeply systemic in its bones.
Sometimes the best thing we can do is burn it all to the ground and find a different foundation.
Yeah. But like, yeah, a lot of the ideas that I like from that game have made it into Castle Cthulhu. And Graham adored Castle Cthulhu. He's been my biggest evangelist for this game, and he loves testing out the new builds and telling me all the various stuff. And so yeah, he's like my go-to, beta tester, and gives me a lot of feedback with regards to balancing and game design, and so I'm very appreciative of Graham.
I'm hearing that this is going to be the first name in your special thanks section.
Yes.
If not in another part of the game or part of the credits. Yeah, the gift that you showed off for Pitch Your Game last month, and it doesn't even feel like last month, but it was really very interesting to look at. Like, you definitely have built an environment which is certainly evocative of the tone you want to set. And then anything you say that involves like losing grip on reality or sanity, you've instantly got my attention. Because one of my favorite games from the early 2000s is a little gem called Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, which if you are unfamiliar with the game, it's like a third-person horror puzzle game in which you have a health bar, a mana bar, and a sanity bar. And as your sanity bar gets lower and lower and lower, which basically is anytime you see something that's out of human norm, so like pretty much everything you see in the game would start giving you like psychotic episodes. And there was one particular instance, and it was one that I had already seen before, but a friend was watching me play and she'd never seen it before, where it made it look like there was a cockroach crawling around on the screen. And as that was going on, I'm, of course, like full on focus, like, I know what you're doing, game. But my friend took her shoe off and tried to smack the bug on the television. And, oh, man, that game messed with me so bad. Chrome was mentioning in chat that it was going to delete a save, which was another thing that it would do to try and mess with you. It's like you would get to a save point and you'd start saving, but then it would like take it would take control away from you and like make it look like it was deleting like all of the saves in your card. One of my personal favorites was I had a Sony television at the time, and it would start playing with the volume, and so it's had the same like Sony volume meter looking thing, and I'm like, what's going on? What's happening? And it was just like it kind of like set the tone for so many interesting things. Yeah, Max, anybody who still has access to a GameCube, I highly recommend trying to track down a copy. And if you're unable to do that, now I can't legally condone this, but I am aware that things such as emulators exist where someone could find a ROM of one of these games. But then again, I'm not condoning this. I just know that it's a possibility.
Yeah, it's out there.
Yeah, it's out there for things to happen. So, but yeah, we talked a bit before the show, and I do believe you might have a little bit of gameplay for us to check out. Okay. Oh, no! That coffee cup went away.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. I'm still figuring this stuff out. So, whenever you're ready, just let me know, and we'll get switched over there for you. Other than that, everybody, thank you for joining us. Chroma, always good to see you. Thanks, buddy. Max, also great to have you here. Timmy, another great, wonderful person. And I'm going to switch over now to Castle Cthulhu.
Excellent. So, this is Castle Cthulhu. Wait, I don't need to make gestures anymore. No one can see me.
Nope. No one can see me either, but I'm still going to sit around with everything ready as though they still can. Or am I?
So, this is Castle Cthulhu. This is all the obligatory, hey, this is alpha, everything's going to look different and be more polished, and this is very early stuff in the game. Case in point, I just gained 4 experience right now because in the current build of the game, nothing checks whether or not you were in any way responsible for a monster dying.
Did it fall into
gain experience?
Did it fall into a spike trap?
Yeah. Yeah, I just gained a level entirely through no business of my own.
Nice.
So yeah. So it's a pretty typical WASD and mouse sort of top-down perspective sort of game. You can hold down your inventory key to slow down time and be able to finick around with your inventory. There's a 2-hand system in this game where you can put stuff into different hands. So like if I pick up this old musket here, that's going to take both of my hands. You can see down here, they're bound to left and right click.
Yeah.
But if I have the automatic out, I can also have a flashlight out.
Seems like a much sounder strategy to me, but then at the same time, I imagine that there's a definite benefit to having a 2-handed item as opposed to a 1.
Yeah, the one-handed weapons are generally quite a bit weaker. Some people have spotted me. That's not a good sign.
Darn cultists.
Oh, yes. Another thing that is very alpha build right now is this build involves stuff for me to test out the water. So water is not just going to randomly be in pools in the middle of the dungeon.
I mean, at the same time, these are servants of the old ones, and most of them do tend to take on amphibious type characteristics. They might have little like recreation pools,
Yeah.
like just
Mostly
strewn
I just
about.
wanted to make sure that my reflections worked.
That's pretty nice water, I'm not gonna lie.
Ooh, that is a new bug. The stairs down should not be able to spawn inside a water pool.
Here, I was thinking they just spawned as a water pool.
Oh,
Hello?
I'm getting a freeze.
Oh no.
That's new. Yeah. Sorry, this version of the game is not super stable.
It's perfectly fine. Don't worry about it. I'm
I
just
don't
gonna.
know if it's necessarily a game problem or if it's there's also 90 bajillion Firefoxes open and I can't close them all problem.
Hmm.
Um,
Rest in pepperonius.
especially considering I can't seem to close the crashed game.
Now
So
that is bad.
that makes me think that for once it's not actually the game's fault.
You're all yeah. Get away from people getting a peek at your system manager there. You know, look, you never know. You know, like don't want people getting access to like any information they shouldn't. I've watched the movie Hackers. I love that movie.
I love that movie. It's great. I only saw it recently, but I think it's
I
phenomenal.
didn't get a chance to see it in theaters because my family wouldn't let me see PG-13 movies without an adult in theaters for some reason. But they didn't care that we had like 8 billion TVs with cable and I could very easily seclude myself somewhere and watch whatever the hell I wanted when they weren't paying attention. I mean, it's how I saw.
I didn't see it in theaters because I was like 4.
Yeah, I'm
I don't know when that movie came out.
mid 90s. I think it was 95. Hold on a second. Let's find out.
Oh, then
Hey
I was
Siri.
0.
How or when did the movie Hackers come out? That's 95. I was right.
Cool.
Dang.
So I was 0.
I was 13.
Okay.
Old man Tom. I'm used to it.
Here.
Let me drink my old man coffee. And I won't put it over here because there's a weird collision things. Max in chat, I was 1. Why you so old? Because my parents are old.
That tends to do it.
Yeah, that really does. I mean, dude, if you think I'm old, you should talk to my older sisters. They closing on 50. The robot also has a robot assistant.
The skeleton doesn't see me. I'm gonna whap them with my musket.
Oh, so you back to playing the game, huh?
Yes. Oh.
All right.
Nobody could see any of this.
Oh, no, you didn't tell me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's perfectly fine. I'm gonna everything that happens on the show that doesn't happen correctly is my fault. So that's just the way it goes.
Okay.
Oh, that musket was mean.
The musket is very powerful, but it's also incredibly inconvenient. It's not accurate. It has one shot. It takes a long time to reload. It can sometimes set fire to the room you're in.
That doesn't sound like a huge problem to me, especially when you're, fighting cultists.
There we go. I'm just going to throw this away and grab that dagger, because that seems like a better weapon for the scenario.
I appreciate that those guys had a torch, because I was going to ask if you had, different, excuse me, different environments were going to, have different light characteristics.
Yeah, so currently the only environment in the game is the dungeon, which is actually going to be the third environment you go to.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have like an upper castle section, which has like a bunch of light sources in it and like a bunch of furniture and stuff. So it's got a very different vibe. And the first place you're going to be in is a swamp leading up to the castle, which is going to have, it's not going to be as oppressively dark. You'll be able to see past your vision range.
Right.
Let me take my absolute favorite perk, which replaces your dodge with a dodge roll.
I mean, dodge rolls are just better.
Yeah. Normally you just get this like short little hop, but with evasion you get to do a full big dramatic dodge roll.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see
Take
if I can
that.
find a swinging weapon because those are much more exciting than stabbing weapons.
I'm guessing that club is a swinging weapon.
Yeah. Oh, this ghoul is gonna be the death of me. I'm going to. Oh, I want that crossbow. Oh wait, I have an axe. Why have I not been using this axe this whole time? Okay. So, where were they? I'm less afraid of them now.
Well, they're clearly running away from your axe.
Oh. There we go. So, combat is very... Oh, I'm bleeding out.
Oh, no.
Combat is very timing based in this game. There's going to be like a little shing noise later, but you can see there's a little spark that tells you when a light attack becomes a power attack. And if you release directly at that moment, it becomes a lot more powerful. And it also costs a little bit less stamina, so you got to worry about your stamina management. Sorry, I feel like I haven't been explaining the systems of this game very much because I've just been focused on playing it.
Oh, no, you're fine because it's been fun to watch. I mean, I can't speak for the people in the audience, but Max seems to think that I can be blamed for your game crashing as well. Because I made the idiot statement of saying everything that happens on my show that's wrong is my fault.
You did set yourself up for that.
I really did, didn't I?
So yeah, so melee combat is very timing based. And what I like about that is like the whole purpose of the light horror elements in this game are this game generally just sort of rewards you for being cautious and taking things slow, and like everything involves, having like a nice rhythm, and if you can just sneak up on someone and deliver the first hit, combat goes pretty smoothly. And then the idea is, hey, if a fast monster jumps out from the darkness and spooks you a little bit, maybe you'll play a little less optimally.
Yeah.
Which is a dynamic I think is pretty exciting.
That mummy looked a little bit like an oven mitt when you first rolled up on it.
Yeah. So the enemies look a little bit nondescript from behind.
And I was like, oh man, we're gonna mess up that oven mitt.
Yeah. What other things are there to talk about? So I want to see if I can show off some of the... Okay, there we go. This guy's no match for me. But, so there's a system in this game called haunts. And that's basically what I was talking about when I said that the game is, a dungeon that's trying to kill you. What haunts are is basically if you spend too long in any one place, in any one floor without advancing, you're going to get a haunt. And haunts are they're various spooky things. There's a lot more implemented in Castle Cthulhu Classic than there is right now. But even right now, hopefully I can, if I just play the game long enough, you can see it. There's things like doors will randomly like flutter open and seal themselves shut, so you can maybe not rely on the map that you've created in your head of the dungeon so far. Walls that you aren't looking at can shift behind you, making that map you have of the dungeon, which is already pretty hard to form because of the low light, much harder for you to figure out. So that's pretty exciting. I have a fire extinguisher now. Don't know what to do with that. I'm just going to carry it around because it's fun. But yeah, shadows can, like, a shadow monster can show up in rooms that have low light. There are various, like, suits of armor that existed in Classic that I'm going to implement soon that come to life.
Nice.
There's only 3 haunts in the game right now, but I'm working on them over time, and they're the main thing that just sort of forces you to go faster. I think literally as we were talking, that door closed while I wasn't paying attention. So I think I might have actually just got killed by a haunt there right now, and I was too daft to notice it.
It's perfectly fine. It's my fault, remember? It's the way it works.
Yeah. There's some other systems I want to show off if I can get the opportunity. This is the problem with demonstrating roguelikes is, it's not like I can just go to the right level and guarantee that the interesting thing that I want to show you is there. There's a chance that it's just sort of not going to be there. Let's see if I can try to find some explosives.
Oh, I do like things that explode.
Because explosives are just really fun in this game.
You had mentioned
door up there. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no worries. I was going to say you had mentioned Nuclear Throne as one of the inspirations behind this. Do you have any?
Dynamite.
I was going to ask, do you have any plans on implementing like other characters with like different perks or abilities?
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh man, I thought I fixed this one. I think I'm using an older build. Okay, I'm gonna reopen that. Explosives aren't that rare. Yeah, I plan on re-implementing all the characters that were in Castle Cthulhu Classic. So this main character, this like red-headed, brown jacket, white shirt character is the Investigator. She's very much like the default character. She starts with a better light source than everyone else. She starts with a pretty decent gun. And her main shtick is that she just finds more items. It's a very item-driven game, so that's just very handy for new players. I don't have any of them implemented yet, but yeah, there's a priest who has less... They don't suffer as many haunts, and they do more damage to the undead. Which is very good if you want to sort of take things slower, because if haunts show up slower, then you don't need to rush as much.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to try to see if I can find a room to show you fire. This is it's going to be mind-blowing to anyone who hasn't played Far Cry. So, explosives in this game will set fire to things, which is great fun. Those fires will spread to wooden rooms, at least. Oh, I have the haunt that makes doors randomly open and close. Oh, this is a secret door. I didn't notice that. Yeah, so fire will spread. There's a whole system in the game right now for, like, the oxygen in rooms, and fires will last until it kills all the oxygen, and oxygen from adjacent rooms will flood into those rooms. Just great stuff. There's also heat you need to worry about. Even if I'm not directly in the fire, you can see up here that my character is still heating up. I'm probably going to take some heat damage if I keep staying here. Also, my items are heating up. You can see that flashlight is kind of going red now. If I stick around a little longer, some of my bullets might start popping off, and you can see the quality's going down. So generally, being in very hot rooms is not a great thing.
Just out of idle curiosity, how much Breath of the Wild did you play?
Breath of the Wild is, I think it's the first Legend of Zelda game I played to completion.
Well, it's just because the items heating up and taking heat damage and stuff just that was the first game I ever personally saw where that was a thing. So it was just very reminiscent of that for me.
Yeah, a lot of this is born out of my absolute adoration for a roguelike called Powder, which has... Oh, this guy's just not giving me enough space. This musket's too big. Also, muskets will set fire to rooms too.
Well, they're spraying that black powder everywhere.
Short-sighted plan. This is a much better room for showing off fire. Oh no, that guy has a fire extinguisher. I could try to use that. Let's get rid of all these fires.
I'm sorry. This is just like it. Don't get me wrong. This is like super impressive, but at the same time, it is ludicrously silly, and I love it.
It's definitely on the pulp side of horror. Like it's, what is scary? Is it the inner darkness in our souls, or is it a big spooky monster with big claws? This is very much the second type of thing. Like, I've joked before that like one of my problems with getting funding for this game is the fact that the main people that will talk to you in Toronto to get funding, if you haven't published something before, is the Toronto Art Council. And this is the least deep game I will ever make. This is just, it is, the thematic depth here is monsters cool. It kind of begins and ends there.
Well,
what if Lovecraft, but there are lady and black protagonists?
But not racist, misogynist? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, that's kind of the extent of a message I can...
Well,
I've really got going here.
Another thing to remind them on, too, is that so much artistic value is very frequently placed on things after the fact by the audience.
Yeah.
Because, like, we look at, Van Gogh as if he is some, like, genius who, and I mean, in fairness, he was, but nobody gave a crap about him in his day.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would remind them of. But then again, that's just me. My argument probably works better in the United States. I don't test well with Canadian government. They always stop me at the border. I'm not even kidding. Like, every time I've gone to Canada since I became an adult, they're all like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" I'm all like, "I'm going to watch some wrestling or whatever." And they're all like, "You only brought a backpack." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm only staying for like 4 days." "What you got in that backpack?" And I'm like, "Clothes. Come on, man."
Yeah, why does this have to be so complicated?
Yeah, I'm like, dude, I'm just coming to watch like one of your national sports. Give me a break. Well, I gotta say, your GIF did not do the game justice. And I'm very much looking forward to this game.
Thank you.
I am really looking forward to just setting giant ballrooms on fire and standing in the middle, just keeping myself not burnt to a crisp.
Yeah. I mean, the main reason I implemented all of that stuff, like, there's also, on the flip side, rooms can also get cold and stuff. But, like, the main reason I implemented that stuff is because eventually, like, there's all these books lying around. I don't know if you've noticed them, but, like, where are some books? God, this is the thing about roguelikes, is they can never demonstrate your points when you want to make them. But yeah, there's all these books lying around, and eventually I want these things to teach you spells.
Oh, cool.
And the idea is, if I have this system that has like systems for, there being heat and fire and cold and the way all of these things interact with each other, and there's oxygen in rooms that can flow from room to room, is like, oh, now I can have spells that screw with those systems, rather than having, a generic fireball spell that just does damage in an area. The fireball spell now has all of these side effects, which are just cool. It's neat. It leads to a lot of situations where rooms accidentally catch on fire and all of your plans need to be made much shorter.
Well, if there's one thing I've learned from playing Dungeons and Dragons, it's that one needs to be very careful when casting Fireball.
Yeah, I mean, it's always disappointing to me when in Dungeons and Dragons and the rulebook is like, oh, the fire disappears as soon as the spell's gone. Like, no, let it have consequences.
Well, I mean, the
GM will almost always do that.
Oh, I let it have consequences. It's but the groups I generally tended to play in back in the day were always smart enough to have it as an airburst as opposed to basing it on a terrestrial location.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I got team killed with a fireball. Yeah, that was no
I'm
fun.
trying to think of if I've ever seen that specific one. I think I've been host to a couple of team kill fireballs, but that's mostly because I just got frustrated with how bizarrely precise it was. So I house ruled that fireball scatters a little bit, so you can't just like precisely place it. Because I was always like, it just kind of like bothered me on some level that players could magically intuit the precise blast radius and put the thing in a spot where like I'm like, I don't know, makes this spell that should be this big powerful reckless use of arcane strength, it just kind of makes it a little tame, um, which probably tells you a lot about my design ethos. um,
I can understand and respect that. But this is a time where I'm going to remind our audience that if they have any questions, that they are always more than welcome to throw them up in chat, and I will do my best to read them intelligently and get them across to people. But sometimes, and I'm not naming any names here, Max, questions are occasionally miswritten. No, I'm just kidding. I love you, Max. You know that. I'm sitting here talking to the camera like, people are actually watching me right now, but we're watching you play the game. So I don't know why. I'm even still performing. Why am I even doing this? Timmy, you are making a game. You are definitely not too dumb to understand Dungeons and Dragons. And if you only know push button, then Roll20 was made for you, because all you have to do is push buttons. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it even has the rules for D&D memorized for you too. Oh, hold on a second here. I have to do a quick dab.
So one of the haunts in the game is just that like random rooms get really really cold, and I also have the wet status effect because I went into a pool of water, which makes cold even worse. So I'm just gonna chill in this room I caught on fire until I'm no longer wet. Um, oh no, it didn't work.
I'm just being made to dab right now, so don't worry about me. I'm cutting over so that way they can see that I'm doing the dab, and I'm cutting back to the game.
Excellent.
Half expected off-camera dab, no chroma. I'm gonna cut back over to me here real quick. We don't do any of that cheesy off-camera dab, not on my channel. Only the classiest for my folks. So, just learned I could redeem dab 19 times. I would appreciate it if you didn't redeem all 19 at once. Primarily because, oh no, cut back just in time to see you die.
Yeah.
Well, Rosalynd, thank you so much for the demo.
Coming on that life. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, we're not done yet, but now that we've had the demo going for a bit, I figure we can probably. I've got to figure out how to do all this in a much more interesting way. No, there we go. All right, Preston Pineapple Pizza. Timmy, I can always count on you for the fun rip jokes. But yeah, so thank you so much for showing us the game. That's like, it all kind of started because this past Friday, Kane from working on a game called Sushi Ben VR was all like, hey, I want to do a live demo. And I was like, wow, why have I never thought to ask guests if they could do a live demo of their game? And so because of him, that's why I'm asking everybody now.
I was going to bring it up if you didn't ask.
But then I did. It's almost like I'm good at my job. Well, we all know that's not true.
I feel like I'm not very good at selling my game. But every time I take it, like I've taken this to a couple of like shows like Bit Bazaar and things, and like when people play the game, they really enjoy it. And Scott I don't know. There's something just very satisfying about the way that attacks wind up and then release, and then there's a bunch of blood and bones and stuff, and like I feel like the game sells itself much better than I do. Um,
Well, I mean, clearly I wasn't playing at the time, but I can say that the fun of it is visible, and I can only imagine that it would be even more enjoyable to actually sit down with keyboard, mouse, or controller in hand, and like actually have that moment to like get that axe and be like, "Hey, get over here, you silly ghoul!" Bing.
mhm.
Yeah, I don't have.
Like yeah. Whenever I take it to like when I took it to like Bit Bazaar, like other people just had a lot more fun with it on account of just like my brain is just in this two world state where I'm trying to enjoy the game and simultaneously trying to explain the game.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine that that's not horribly fun, but well, before we go, though, I have one last thing. It's a little bit that I like to call the 5 questions. For just in case I didn't fully explain it before the show, and for anyone who is not aware, the 5 questions are a series of 5 questions that I prepared before the show that don't really have anything to do with anything we've talked about thus far. So, question number 1. What is your favorite street food?
Huh.
I know that's a
Probably
tough
just
one.
like sausages.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess that's fair. I guess that's a fair answer.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's a place that I can just get a sausage, that's probably the best street food for me.
Then you would probably like Copenhagen because they have this thing called a dance hot dog, and it's like it's more substantial than a hot dog, but it's basically like a hot dog with this white sauce in like a a fully enclosed bun, for lack of a better word. It's so good. I miss being able to travel. I'm jealous of you countries who've actually done something relatively responsible with COVID-19 and can go places.
Well, yeah, like it feels nitpicky to critique Canada in the context of America existing. But
That's fair. That's
yeah,
fair. It hurts
we
because
could be
it's
doing
true.
better.
I mean, nobody's New Zealand except for New Zealand.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we should all strive to be like New Zealand.
Or Vietnam. Vietnam's doing really well.
Yep, another good one. Another good one. Well, question number 2. If you could live on one fictional spaceship or space station, which would it be?
Ooh. Ooh, that's a good one.
I thought about that one for like 5 seconds. That means I put a lot of thought into one of these questions.
Every So the problem is the fictional spaceships that I can think of, like most of my favorite science fiction universes are pretty grim. Like, everything everything from the 40K universe is just out immediately.
Well,
Like
Tau ships are nice.
yeah. Um and like Star Wars similarly has this problem of everything's just kind of filthy all the time. Like I love that about the setting. It's one of my favorite parts of the setting is that everything just has this thick layer of grease on it.
Well, I mean,
But
the
like,
Tantive 4 looked very well cared for until the
yeah,
Empire showed up
that's
right
that's
at
a
the
big
start.
until though. That's a big until. It feels like such a cliche, but it has to be the Enterprise. Like you've got the holodeck, you've got like yeah, I'm not even that big of a Star Trek fan, but it's just I think it wins no contest just because the accommodations are so good.
Yeah.
Um
I think one of the most interesting videos I saw in regard specifically to the Enterprise D is from a YouTuber named EC Henry, who I'm trying to get on the channel, or trying to get on the show. Love the guy. He did a video where he took the entire crew of the Enterprise and put them on the saucer section to give you a sense of scale for how big the Enterprise actually is. And it was such a minuscule part of the saucer section that they took up. I was like, you could basically walk around that ship for a day.
Well, there's only like 400 people crewing it, right?
Well, there was, I think the total was somewhere around, like, not of all people on the ship was like 1,100, you know, which I mean, sounds like a lot of people, you know, but, and it is a lot of people. It's just that the Enterprise is huge on a scale we have a problem imagining.
Yeah, it's pretty big. I mean, like all the sci-fi universes that come afterwards, I'll just try to one up it. Like Star Wars ships are just so not understanding of scale huge.
Yeah, I mean,
nobody thought about it. They just made it big.
I mean, the Imperial Star Destroyer is 1.6 kilometers long, and then you get to like the Executor, which is like 19 kilometers long. It's so like, big it requires a public transit system.
Yeah, and like I don't know, it always feels like I almost have like some sort of like beef, some philosophical beef with like sci-fi books that, you know, tell you the precise scales of these, you know, giant things in Star Wars, because like the Death Star is such a good symbol for a story, you know, and as soon as you start thinking of it in terms of size and logistics and like how it was made and how people on it would get around, it all starts falling apart and makes no sense. And I don't like it anymore. Like well, I like it as just sort of it's a big thing and it's scary and that's
and it blows up planets.
Yeah, it blows up planets. Like it's the story works on that level. I don't know.
Well, see, my current favorite science fiction series is The Expanse.
Yeah, The Expanse is fantastic.
And their ship sizes make sense.
Yeah, no, it's very... Oh God, I love the space battles in The Expanse.
Oh, yeah. I've read most of the books at least twice, and I've watched through the whole series minus the newest season 2 or 3 times. So, yeah, I'm a big fan. One of the authors follows me on Twitter, and I like freaking lost my mind when that happened. I was like, are you kidding me? What did I do? I am nowhere near cool enough to rate this follower, you know? And we actually had like a really fun talk the other day about classic science fiction and how like we both really enjoyed Robert Heinlein because it was really hard to figure out what he actually believed in because so many of his books were so thematically different from each other.
Yeah. He very much feels like an author that's like trying to work through some things.
Yeah. Like a lot of people like to point out, say, Starship Troopers, because it's very fascist because you have to do military service if you want to be like a complete and full citizen. And like, don't get me wrong, the setting is fascist and it's not something he's necessarily advocating for, as evidenced by the fact that the story isn't about a person wanting to become a full citizen in this society. The story's about a person, you know, going through that traditional becoming a man phase of their life. And especially for authors who were young adults and veterans themselves in that era, that was, you know, kind of like that was the common experience that everybody had. And, you know, like the setting was fascist, but the story itself wasn't. You know, and it's like something that is kind of lost, especially in the Verhoeven adaptation of the book, where it's basically all like, hey, look at all of like these weird Nazi people fighting space bugs. And I'm just like, okay, your movie is fun and it's very pretty on multiple levels.
I love that movie.
But oh yeah, no, that movie is a terrible movie that I love.
Yeah, no,
I might even watch it tonight. It's on Netflix.
I kind of like I love Verhoeven in that he is the epitome of like I know of writers who use subtext and they're all cowards.
Dude, like the original RoboCop is like one
It's
of
so good.
oh
It's
my
the best
god.
movie ever made.
I don't know that I go that far, but it's
It's
very good. And the way that it just
what if the 80s never ended?
dude, it's like what if the 80s were now? I mean, like,
Yeah.
if you literally made that movie right now, you could pretty much not change anything in the script except replace cocaine with Molly.
Yeah.
And you basically have RoboCop.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you have to change.
It's a phenomenal movie.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love
No, that
movie
movie's
so
excellent.
much.
I love it. Kurtwood
And
Smith
like
as a villain.
once again, just the beautiful Verhoeven, like incredibly on the nose Jesus metaphor. And I am there for it. Just
Part of
just
me
spell it out for me.
Part of me really wishes that we got like a Paul Verhoeven superhero movie. Like, can you imagine like Paul Verhoeven doing like Superman? Like
It'd
we
be
all
so
like look at like
fantastically pretentious and just incredibly. I'd love it. I would
he'd
love it so
probably
much.
make a Superman movie that like A, I would actually care about, and B, that I think actually would hit the nail on the head with it, which is that the whole movie would be about everyone else and Superman just like shows up and does things. You know,
Yeah.
it'd be like about like Lois Lane and Lex Luthor going about their days in Metropolis. Then all of a sudden, like Superman rolls in and like they realize that like a bus was about to plow into them. You know, and they're
Like,
all like, "Oh, thank you, Superman." And Lex Luthor's all like, "You should have let me get hit by that bus. It's my God-given right as an American." You know, so all
it
right,
would play into one of his big favorite things. He loves having those cutaways of in RoboCop and in Starship Troopers. He loves having these like little cutaways to like commercials and stuff. And like I feel like Superman would be a good fit for that as a reporter because you
yeah.
just have this focus on like what do the people think about the situation. You always get this great sense of world in his movies.
Which is now that you really kind of mention it, is something I never really thought of in any level of depth. But now, like especially now, it would make so much sense because it you know, like imagine Verhoeven working now trying to emulate like YouTube ads. You
Yeah.
know, like even going so far as to putting a button like down in the lower right of the screen that's like skip ads. You know,
Yeah.
like how much, you know, what would he have? What would a 5-second Verhoeven ad look like?
I mean, he already kind of did that with Starship Troopers of do you want to know more?
Yeah,
Like
but that's not click away.
yeah.
That's click in. That's fall down the rabbit
Yeah.
hole. Like I
Yeah.
want to see what like his 5 second sell for a 2 minute commercial is.
Yeah.
You know, but either way, we are way off topic, which is part of why I love this show. And oh my god, like like I'm just so happy that somebody else loves Paul Verhoeven movies because like that dude's insane and I love him. Question number 3. For everybody just joining us, we're doing the 5 questions, and then we got distracted by RoboCop. Question number 3. What is a trade skill that you've always wanted to learn?
Okay. Trade skill that I've always wanted to learn. This one's gonna draw a big blank for me.
If it's of any help, I will say that for me personally, it's blacksmithing.
Oh well, if I mean, yeah, that's up there. Like, I mean, I'm boring and practical enough that I was just thinking, like, God, I wish I had the patience to sew. That could just help so much.
Sewing
But
sucks.
but yeah, like I don't have the patience to sew. I'd much rather clang together a bunch of like blacksmithing's a good one. That's a really good one. Um, Yeah, and like knitting's the same deal. Like this seems useful, but like, would I ever be able to? Would I ever be able to have the brain for it?
Well, I mean, I
It
imagine
feels like a
so.
cop out, but as soon as you said blacksmithing, my brain just can't think of anything else.
Hey,
That
that's
is the best
fine.
answer.
There's plenty of room for other blacksmiths out there. You know, like we could start up like our own like blacksmithing collective, and like you could have your stall and I'll have my stall, and like I'll make whatever the fuck I'm gonna make, and you'll make whatever the fuck you're gonna make. It'll be
It's
fun.
just going to be swords. It's only going to be swords.
You know, if we're all at a point where we have to learn blacksmithing again, swords and armor are probably the things we're gonna have to be making. So,
It's definitely what's going to pay the bills.
yeah. Question number 4: Who is your favorite superhero?
Mm. It's going to be a lot of like, okay. There's definitely a. It's really hard to pin down a favorite. Like I'm just gonna sort of work this out as I talk through it, because like,
Have at it.
yeah, okay, so Superman and Captain America are definitely on this list.
Yeah.
And they kind of occupy the same slot for me. Because what I like about those two characters is they're characters who become very powerful, obviously to much different orders of magnitude, but like they're they don't have a backstory that forces them to become a good person. They don't have a backstory that forces them to care about other people. They just are. They're just kind, good people. And what I kind of love about them is like it's so clearly in their origins that like Superman is just like, hey, there's something just all right about mom and pa Kent, and they're just good folks and they just raised a good kid, and like that's valid. And something that I just like love about Captain America is like in the time that he showed up, is just like, hey, you have this like Irish Catholic kid growing up in this 1940s era, uh, and he's fine. He's just a good guy. He's a good guy, and it's good. Like I like that stuff. So those are definitely high up there. Despite being the very epitome of what I just said, that I like Superman and um, Captain America for them not being. I just love Spider-Man because he has bills to pay. Like he's just extremely relatable. Just like he's one of the only characters who like makes sense as having like a secret identity to me.
Yeah.
Because like he is just a kid in way over his head, and he kind of makes bad decisions, and he's got to pay rent, go to school, and like that's my goodness if that's not relatable.
Well, it's so funny too because he's good friends with 2 other super geniuses that also are multimillionaires in charge of multi-billion-dollar corporations. That
Yeah,
and he could get like literally just go like, "Yo, Tony, what up? Give me a job."
yeah,
And Tony
most
Stark
of
would,
these
yeah,
heroes, yeah,
and Tony would be so happy to have him too. It's not like
yeah,
it's not like charity. It's like Peter could very easily work for the for Reed Richards or Tony Stark or any of these guys,
yeah.
But
It's they kind of just like hand wave it in like a, oh, he's sort of too polite to ask sort of way. But
I think
it's
they go with the whole like he wants to do it on his own, which like I
yeah,
get, but like dude, Peter, gotta have some self confidence, bro. Like
yeah.
you can work
You
for
are
it.
a
Yeah,
genius inventor.
you're
On
like
top of
top
being a
15.
superhero.
Yeah, he's like top 15 smartest people in the Marvel universe. Like
Yeah,
like he's no Doc Ock, but in terms of intellect here, we're not talking like stuff like that. But yeah, like he's a smart dude.
yeah.
You know, he created his own webbing. So, but I appreciate that pick. It's a good one.
I think ultimately it's probably Captain America.
I will allow.
It's
I will allow
it's a
this
tough running.
trinity, if you will.
Yeah.
Whereas like Superman and Captain America are the Father and the Holy Spirit, Spider-Man is very much the Son.
Yeah.
So, like doesn't quite know what he's got, but he's working towards it. So.
And yeah, just like Jesus, he has to pay rent.
Yeah.
There's the whole Sam Raimi pose that he does.
Yeah. Every time.
Yeah.
And I mean, he even did it in Homecoming.
I haven't seen it yet.
I watch a bunch of YouTube clips of it. He's trying to hold together a ferry as opposed to trying to stop a train.
Okay.
But yeah, he almost succeeds.
Ooh.
So, and then question number 5, what is your favorite game?
Oof. It's probably going to be some like. It's very hard for me to pick between. This one I know, like right off the top of my head, which 3 it absolutely is going to be one of. It's either Warcraft 3, which I adore, and just like that game just inspired so much in me, and I just loved the world editor, and that was the nail in the coffin on me wanting to be a game designer. And oh boy, is it a coffin. But
wow, way to sell people on picking game development as a legitimate career path.
I mean, yeah, no, I'm not the best evangelist for this. Yeah, yeah. So Warcraft 3, Heroes of Might and Magic 5, adore that game. It's so goofy and it holds up so well in just the weirdest ways, and I love its bizarre contrivances. And I don't know, there's something just really endearing about that hammy, badly voice acted universe. Um, I adore that game and I play it to this day. And the third one would probably be Dragon Age Origins, which that game is fantastic.
That is not the first time that Dragon Age Origins has come up on this show. Yeah. Not by a long shot. People love that game.
Yeah. Chat says that they like Dragon Age Inquisition.
Yeah, Timmy is a huge Inquisition fan.
Cool. I have various thoughts. I think God, Dragon Age Inquisition is like this game that I'm so conflicted on because there's so much I adore about this game, and there's so much that I find so frustrating.
That's how I feel about Origins.
It's honestly like it's better for games to be like that. I'd rather I can at least talk about Inquisition. There's games that are just sort of disappointing, and I don't really have much to say. But yeah, no. But yeah, Dragon Age Origins is just so huge for me. It's such a well done game for how ambitious it is. And there's so much stuff that it does that other games don't do. I don't know, one thing that bothers me about the Dragon Age sequels and every other role-playing game is I just really liked in Dragon Age Origins how if you play like a warrior or a rogue, you're just kind of a person.
Yeah.
You don't have any supernatural abilities. You can't teleport behind people. You don't have super strength. You're just sort of pretty good at fighting. And it's really weird how rare that is in fantasy role-playing games. Because so much of the appeal to me, I don't know, I'm a Robert E. Howard sort of person. I don't know, I like my protagonists mortal and my antagonists magical. Like,
What also is
I,
very interesting too, to an extent, because you, as you said, you're this normal person, and you literally derp your way into being important.
yeah, no, it's so good. And like like playing the city elf origin is
Oh
so
God,
good.
that's like
Like,
that's heartbreaking.
yeah, and it's like, yeah, like there's a really important discussion to be had about, like, like put you in the feet of your protagonist and their place in this world so absolutely, as just starting the game and seeing how much dirt the society you live in treats you.
Yeah.
And like, there's lots of games that try to evoke that, but they always sort of pull their punches in ways that never makes it land. And what I loved about the City Elf origin is you have this rags to riches story. And if you play a noble, like a human noble, it's a fun story about like reclaiming your birthright. But if you play a city elf, you know, you are clawing your way to the top of this society that hates you, and it's so cool. And it's just so satisfying by the end of it.
It's so
Um,
interesting too, especially given like the whole like meta story of
yeah.
elves in the whole Dragon Age thing. But man, we could sit here and talk about the elves until the cows come home, um, which would probably make for an interesting show for Timmy. But
Well,
for
have
everyone
me on
else,
again, and we will have a show just for Timmy.
okay, we'll,
We'll talk
we'll
about.
we'll work that one out. But until then, Rosalind, is aside from your Twitter handle, is there anywhere else that people should go to get updates on Castle Cthulhu? Updates about, I don't know, like how you're doing, stuff like that.
Yeah, so I have a WordPress blog. Let's see.
Oh, it's gonna get. I can't like do the whole like let you put a link in chat thing
Oh,
because
okay.
I'm just a robot person living in the
Yeah.
internet.
Um.
Twitter name is right up there, actually, right this moment on the screen.
Yeah.
It's been there the whole time.
But yeah, rosepulp.wordpress. I think that's what it's.
Okay.
Look this up. Yeah,
People watching
rosepulp.wordpress.
people watching on YouTube, thank you for making this far. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. That's going to be down in the description box for you.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on.
Oh,
It was
absolutely.
nice showing the game off. And yeah.
Yeah. Well, once
Hopefully
again,
we can have more updates on progress as time goes on. And
well,
sorry, I cut you off.
oh, you're fine. Don't worry about it. I speak way too much anyway. Well, once again, Rosalind, thank you so much for being here. I will keep the invite open. So when you get a little bit further along in development, we'll be more than happy to have you along. You know, like maybe you're getting towards a release or an early access or something. So, you know, we're now Discord friends. You know where to find me.
Excellent. Yeah. I'll definitely approach you when I got a game with sound effects. Ooh.
Yeah, you
That-
know
that'll be
how
an
to get
exciting
this,
moment.
how to degauss this CRT. You know, I don't know. I got nothing. That was about the best like robot person joke I could come up with on the fly. So now I'm going to awkwardly switch over to this camera angle, and I'm going to say to my audience, thank you all for joining me today. It's been awesome. Sorry for the break yesterday. I broke the show, fixed the show, had a guest reschedule. So, you know, getting it all sorted out. Going to be doing something a little bit different tomorrow, and I also got my times messed up. So I'm not going to throw times at all with any of this. And so tomorrow, God, and I even like failed at my notes, so I don't even know who I'm having tomorrow. But don't worry, I'll tell you tomorrow. It's going to be fun. Thursday, I have a fun little game called Iris that's going to be on the show with one of the developers in Brazil. The other one was it Brazil? it's Colombia. One of the developers in Colombia, the other one's in Spain. So that's going to be fun. And then on Friday, one of the ones I'm really looking forward to this week, my friend Ashley Cooper, who is a screenwriter and a streamer, is going to be on the show on Friday. And again, I completely screwed up on the times. So, like we've already discussed this, any problems with the show are all completely my fault, especially problems that are completely my fault. So leave me alone. Looks like that didn't work at all. Yeah, there we go. Threw the cup at you. Well, either way, thank you all so much for joining us. I'll see you on the next episode of That Tom Clancy Show. But until then, remember the usual stuff. Drink some water, have some vitamins, wear your mask, and be kind to each other. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got. Thank you all so much for joining us. I'll see you all next time. Have a wonderful night.